Ladies and gentlemen, you are now entering the zone of Donald Kent art. Prepare to kick ass. On today's show, we will be inking some cool comic book characters from NewDelphiMedia.com. So get your seatbelts on, kids. It's gonna be a crazy ride. Nosh. There's my guy right there. Cool. All right, so wow, somebody's already here. That was fast. Got some kick-ass music in the background here, eh? Eh? Talking like a Canadian, eh? I love Canadians, so don't take that wrong. All right, I'll talk like an Englishman for a bit here. What I'm gonna do is zoom right in on that one. Got to turn the music down a bit. Just a wee bit, so I don't feel like I'm yelling over the music. That would be terrible. Right. So I got this message today. It said, "Oi, Donald, we need these characters. Stop what you're doing and move on over to doing this." And so these characters are for like swag, basically. You know, like cups and shirts and stuff that you sell. So it's time. You know, I don't know, there's a lot of comic book artists out there that I think would enjoy my show because of the inking. Just to watch the inking, you know, like it's something I've done before. This guy named John Malin or Malin, Malin, who's a great artist in the Comicsgate world, and he's a pretty extraordinary artist, like wow. And he does streams where he does his artwork, and he's not like a big talker guy. He doesn't have like huge amounts to say, I guess. I don't know. Maybe he does and he doesn't share it. I don't know. But like on the show, other people will come on and talk about comics or movies or what have you, and then he'll just kind of hang, and once in a while he'll, respond to something, and then. But if you look at the quality of his work, it's so like wow. That, to be quite frank, you can't make that kind of work. How do I say this? It's extremely time consuming to do the kind of work that he does. And if I could make comics and put in 10 million zillion little lines in there to render every single shape and like pump up the lighting really, really hard and make it, really exotic. I'm not averse to that per se, but I don't have the time. I mean, these guys are full-time comic book creators. You know what I'm saying? Like this is how they pay their mortgage. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not in that zone. I would like to be. I'd like to be doing this full time. Maybe someday I will. So shut up. So I don't know. I take that as an excuse or what. I don't know. You can do with it what you will. But you know, freelance is freelance. It's work. It's paid work. And you know, if I were to, if I needed that much time to finish a page, then my rates would be like triple. You see what I'm saying? And nobody's going to pay that much money, you know? Now, I'm very, what's the word? Like flexible, you know? Like, oh, you need little something, I'll work with you. You know what I mean? Because I'm a good egg. So I, you know, try to for the success of the project or whatever. Not quite. These images have to be very, very graphic. They can't. You can't have like little bits of. I don't know. Just it's got to be very graphic. So whatever. What have I got to say? Well, I've been going through some interesting tests of faith recently. I'm joyful. I'm basically pretty joyful. Not in a complaining mode or whatever, you know. Even though like there's some really crazy curveballs that have been coming at me. I don't know. I'm just sort of for lack of a better word, it's a kind of just trying to be in the God zone, you know, and like vibe with God. I've been kind of utilizing some of the hermetics. The hermetics. How do I say this? One aspect of hermetics is to understand the elements, like water, fire, air, and how these elements play a role in your psycho-spiritual life. Hey, who's that? Violet Erlund is here. That marker is so juicy. What is that? What, you know, I love the way you think. That's exactly what I would say about this marker. It's called the Fudenosuke. Japanese no pen wa sugoi desho. You can buy a Fudenosuke inking a marker at your local art supply store. Arigatou gozaimashita. How was that? How was that? I just did some Japanesey for you. It's so easy. It's Japanesey. Sorry, that was not irritating. Actually, nothing Japanese is easy. I was just looking at an article that a friend sent today about the. You know what? I gotta jump in here. It's not really the marker. It's me. Like the marker has a flexible tip, but it's the way that I use it. Like there's some. You give this marker to any other guy or girl and see how they use it, you know. So like I'm into the bouncy lines, you know. I think inking, to me, inking is the fun part of drawing. It's like the dessert after you finish your veggies, then you get to have some dessert, and that's what inking feels like to me. Hey, Speedster's here. Whoa. Hope I can keep up with you. Boom, get it, Speedster? Sorry, that was a really stupid joke. Hey, enough comedy jokes. Can't win them all, guys, you know, but if you don't try, you're not gonna get anywhere in life, you know. You gotta crack a joke here or there. Anyway, good to have you guys here. The publisher needs some of these these characters inked. I'll give you a quick look at some of the other ones. This is a kind of a cool robot character. I'm gonna back out in a second. Hold on. Let me back out here. Hello, hello. Why is it not backing out? There it is. So that's based on kind of Roman, Greco-Roman sentry guard. There's some sort of story behind this type of a character. It's like a kind of like a golden golem, meaning like it's empty, but there's a spirit that animates it. In this comic book, it's a robot though. Anyway, Speedster says he looks. Whoa, you just deleted your message for some reason. Well, you don't have to be shy, dude. Come on, man. Just anything, it's good, man. Like what they used to say in high school. The only dumb question is the one you don't ask. Boy, those teachers were smart. SMRT. Anyway, yeah, but I like to. A lot of what this show is about is just good old fashioned talking to people on the internet. You know what I mean? Talking to people on the internet is really deep sometimes. Sorry, I'm in a pretty wacky mood tonight. I don't know what's wrong with me. I must be off my meds. By the way, I'm proud to say I don't take any kinds of medications at all. Like when I go to a doctor or a hospital and they're like, okay, what medications are you on? And I say, I'm not on any. And they're freaking shocked. They're literally, you're not on what? Well, which just shows you how the medical industry is just a fucking drug. I'm going to have to watch myself. I don't want to get all angry and stuff on the show. But, like, it's like they fabricate problems and then create drugs to sell you. And not in all cases, but anyway, let's have a fun conversation, okay? Speedster says he looks like that one guy from Seven Deadly Sins. We're talking about a kung fu movie? And are you talking about this one or the robot that I had before? If I'm right, the Seven Deadly Sins, there was a kind of like an iron statue, it was probably made of bronze or something, and the main actor would practice his kung fu moves on it, to strike certain pressure points and things like that. Is this what we're talking about? Am I right? I don't even know. I used to watch a lot of kung fu movies when I was younger. It's been ages though. His name is Escanor, I think, but he looks like this guy. All right, well, I'm going to take your word for it. So I'm going to do. You know what? It's just striking me like this guy could be a character in Street Fighter. You know what I mean? He just has that Street Fighter vibe, I'm not a gamer, but if I were, I'd be into like the fighting games, and not necessarily like the ones where you use swords and shit, but like actual fighting, because I teach martial arts. So I like hand-to-hand combat, is what I'm saying. This is a topic I bring up a lot on this show. It's kind of, I've said pretty much everything I have to say about it, but anyway. Unfortunately, now that the weather's gotten colder, my student, sparring partner and I, we don't have like a physical place to work out, and so it's been a while. Plus he was traveling overseas for a bit, but I'm really bummed out about that. I wanna get back to sparring. And you get that feeling of atrophy where you're like, oh, haven't worked out in a while. I'm getting lazy. Bleh. I gotta start over. Anyway, let's read some cool comments from some cool people. Mr. Kolovrod is here, ladies and gentlemen. Stand and salute. Pay your respects to the mighty Kolovrod. Hello, just dropping in to give a like. Currently writing page 18 and making 2 videos. One is a Rumble exclusive, and one is specifically about YouTube. Wow. Nice. All right, well, it's always good to have you here, bud. So yeah, curveballs and stuff. I don't know if I should talk about this stuff. Oh, my neck. This dude fixed I needed some new tires or actually not tires, the brakes. And it's like one of these dudes that, you see the card kind of pinned up at one of those, like a restaurant or something on one of those cork boards. And I thought, you know what? I'm gonna go with this guy because just want to bypass the system and see if I can get a better deal. And on his card he says he'll tell you what parts you need to buy, and then you can just go buy them and then he'll install them, whatever. And that way you're saving a ton of money because these auto companies charge you badly, for that. And so I did that and I saved, huge amounts of money. But guess what? I'm going back to the garage for a different thing that's more complex. And suddenly, out of nowhere, I hit the brake and my wheel starts grinding really loud and it's crunching, and I'm like, oh, shit, skis, oh no. And I made it to the garage, and I wasn't taking it there to get that fixed. I didn't have a car or a wheel problem. So, and now I'm thinking, oh shit, now I got that much more to pay. I've already got a big bill coming. Anyway, the guys at the garage were so cool. They fixed the tire for free. But they explained to me that whoever did your brakes, he didn't tighten something well enough and it came off and created a whole new problem for you. So now I gotta go get that fixed. But you know what? I'm not gonna stress it. I have this policy now where I want to be neutral about money, like to have a kind of a neutral attitude. Just think of money as just paper, and not gonna worry about it. Not gonna let it. I'm not gonna worry about it. Kidding. I'm not worried about it, actually, so shut up. Moving on. So what do we got? I was watching a really interesting video. I watch a lot of interesting videos. And this particular one, it's a dude who does a lot of vlogging, talking on spiritual matters, which, of course, I'm into that stuff, Anyway, so whatever, he has a psychologist dude on the show. And the theme of the show is, for lack of a better word, demons that come into people's minds, people who have mental illness, and how the demons operate. And so this guy's a clinical psychologist, psychoanalyst, something or other, a professional. I'll just call him a psychologist. I don't know the exact title that he has. But anyway, and he's worked in like prisons and insane asylums for decades and done very, very deep research on this. So it was just a great show. It's like a lot of it is not new to me. Like I'm familiar with these things. It fits in very, very neatly with my studies on Gnosticism. If you guys follow my show, you would know, you would have heard me talk about Gnosticism. I don't know if anyone in the audience knows what that is, but it's a different kind of worldview. I can see how some people would consider it very negative and want me to like not, kind of go down that path or something. But I don't know how to say this. You can't solve a problem by avoiding it. You know what I'm saying? And it is a different cosmological view, and it's not necessarily sort of like anti-Christian or what have you. In fact, there is Christian Gnosticism. That's an actual, that was an ancient religion. When I say ancient, I mean olden times before, the church burned them all at the stake, so to speak. But in Gnosticism, there is the presence of these demons that torment people and feed off of our louche, which is emotional energy. And normally that emotional energy means negative energy. They're demonic. They try to get people to kill themselves, stuff like this. And they do so by pretending to be you and planting thoughts in your mind that are very negative. Many years ago, kind of in my college days, the cousin of one of my good friends, he was a schizophrenic. And I had never met a schizophrenic before. It was kind of like, wow, this is weird. He's a guy my age, brilliant musician, like way, way over the top, way, 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 like a prodigy. Absolutely extraordinary musician. Like, I mean, mind-bending, like, wow, And when I met him, he was still in control of his schizophrenia, but he would talk about it pretty openly, and at some point he was losing control of it, and he had to like move back in with his mom, and it got worse and worse. And at some point he was pretty much, I guess, like he felt like maybe he was communicating with demons or devils, and they told him that he's all his musical instruments or this or that, the things that he owns are evil, and they must be burned. And so he threw all his stuff in the center of the basement and set it on fire. And so he caught on fire, and he's running up the basement stairs screaming to his mother, in agony, and she tried to put him out, and she got burned. I mean, these are pretty hard things. He died. It was, he died. So it was, I went to the funeral. Like, this is some really, really, really serious shit, I'm sorry, I started the show off all funny and cute and stupid, and now I'm talking about suicide. But the reason why I'm talking about it is just because I was listening to this really interesting video, and you know, that's kind of just on my mind. It was just, you know, like minutes ago when I was listening to it, working on this stuff. Let's read some comments and get away from this negative shit. So, Speedster, da da da, nothing new. Well, how about you guys? What's going on in your world? Give me an update. What's the scoop, Betty Boop? What's the lowdown, Brown? Yeah, a lot of interesting things to learn. Speaking of paranormal, oh shit, I just dropped that. Last night I'm on my computer. I was just watching a movie. It's like late night, watching some movie on like a movie channel thing, you know. And for a minute, for a second, I stopped to grab my phone, check my Instagram or something. And when I did that, the laptop jumped to another website. And like I didn't click it, you know, I didn't like I was like, what the hell? How did that just like on its own just go to another website, you know? And here's the thing, what website did it go to? It went to this one on Gnosticism. Sorry, not Gnosticism, Hermeticism. And I'm like, what? I mean, because I'm into Hermeticism and all these things, but I'm like, it really really felt like there was some kind of a ghost or something that like just said like, hey, stop watching movies and go watch something, you know, of value that, you know, will give you spiritual power, you know. So I like saved the link to it, and then or like I grabbed the URL and just dragged it to my desktop. And then I went back to my phone. I was gonna like text friends and tell them what just happened. And when I went back to my phone to make things even weirder, the 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 browser went right back to the movie channel that I was watching. It didn't go to the movie, it went to the channel. But check this out. The movie that was on the homepage, Stranger Things. The jokes write themselves, folks. Yeah, you can't make this shit up. Stranger Things. Oh my god. Which I mostly liked. There were parts of it that were degenerate and I hated. And it's the usual shit. What do you expect from Netflix? You know, they do a lot of degenerate shit. But overall, pretty amazing, you know, series, I guess. So anyway, what am I to think of that? What do you think of that? Wow, there's only one person left. I've just like bored the shit out of everybody. It's really sad. I'm gonna cry now. Uh-oh. It's so sad. Don't cry anymore. It's gonna make up a song right on the spot. Donald Kent Karaoke Hour. I like karaoke. I need to go do some karaoke. Who wants to join me? Let's do it. There's a lot going on in my life that I'd love to share, but it's like kind of sort of on the personal side. As you watch me ink this boot. Good stuff. Happy to say. So now we got to get into the little nitty gritty stuff where we use a special marker for that. A teeny, it's got like a needle thin tip to it. Like, I'm gonna inject some ink, bro. Oh, yeah. Getting high, bro. Let's see. Don't do drugs. Alright, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? We gotta match that up. And whenever there's like a shadow on it, it's always slightly deceptive. Do not be deceived. Oh, that's not too bad. I could maybe do that one. Is this music okay? Should I change the music? You guys want me to put on some heavy metal or something? You know what I've been listening to? Country rock hits from the 1950s. Oh, it's so good. It's so pure, and it just takes you away to another time where people were simple and I've learned to like I like old country. Never been a country guy. I don't like the new modern commercial crap. And I'm generally not into anything commercial anyway. You know what I mean? If it's pop or country or even like the pop punk stuff is kind of whatever. It's like, what's the word I'm looking for? Contrived, you know. Anyway. I should make those lines thicker. That's a good point. All right, so hello, just dropping in. No comments? Come on, dudes. All right, now I'm going to do his face. Let's zoom in. Face of a dude. Can you believe it? I look exactly like this guy. This is literally me. You didn't know that? No, I'm kidding. Of course, that's not me. I would never wear a mustache like that. Forget about it. I've never had just a mustache. I've done lots of goatees with a mustache. Lots of beards with mustaches. I've done just goatees. You know what I mean? Like with no mustache. Oh dear. It's really, really hard to draw small. It's one of the harder parts about doing art. You have to have like a really steady hand. I guess I could have been a surgeon. There you go. Brain surgeon, Dr. Kent. Dr. Kent, calling Dr. Kent. Damn. Dr. Kent, I kind of like the sound of that. I don't know, what do you guys think? Dr. Kent? What do you think? There you go. That's it. Screw it. I'm going to medical school. Who needs this art shit? Art. Bunch of bullshit. Who needs art anyway? Art. artsy fartsy shit. Nobody likes art anyway. Who cares? It's just a waste of time. It sounds like the Archons are talking. All right. That might be a little tedious to watch. I don't know if you guys want to watch that. Maybe I'll move on to the next character, because that's like 10 million years of little dots and squares and squigglies. So what if out of nowhere, for no reason at all, one day we did a pagan? I like that. Had a huge discussion with a close friend of mine about pagans and Christianity. Woo! Heavy topic. Okay, so I've got close friends in both camps, and they're very, very, very strong about their beliefs. So I'm going to take a little water break. Oh, refreshing. Mucho refreshing. No. All right, you ready to get back to the action? All right, let's do it. Ooh, why am I yawning so much? That's not funny. It's 8:30. It feels like frickin' 10:30. Well, I was up early, had I wouldn't say a stressful day, but there were a lot of problems that I had to cope with today that were pretty big problems. They're fine, I'm fine, you know, but it took a toll on me. And the problems are not fixed yet either. They're rolling over into the next couple days. But there's other stuff that's like positive. Then I'm kind of keeping my mind on that. I guess I can maybe say a little bit. Like there's just a certain young lady in that picture that is giving me positive signs, and it's not, it's not all there yet, but got a pretty huge green light today. I guess that's all I'm gonna say about that. Do 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 dee do do dee. All right. So what else? Yeah. It's funny, a lot of the artists who come to this channel, they ask what marker am I using. And of course I tell them, and it's always a sort of a conversation. But it's really about how you use it. I mean, I can give you a Les Paul guitar, and it doesn't make you a great guitar player. Who here knows what a Les Paul is? Name one musician in rock and roll that is known for playing a Les Paul or a Gibson. There's a lot of Gibsons. I shouldn't say that. So I nerd out a lot about music and stuff, and I like to watch interviews with like famous rock stars that grow old, and then they'll talk. Like I was watching one with David Gilmour from Pink Floyd, and he was going over his guitar collection, and he's a Fender guy. He's known for his Fender, mostly Stratocaster. But sorry, did I say Stratocaster? Um, no, yeah, Stratocaster. Yeah, there's a couple Telecasters that he uses. Like on the Animals album, to me, that's like a very Telecaster guitar sound. I'm kind of excluding everyone who's not a musician from the conversation. But anyway, moving on. Pagans, how do they pray? How does a pagan pray? This is a very interesting question. How does a pagan pray? So I was listening to an amazing lecture on Roman religion, the religions in Rome, during the time of Rome. And from the beginning of Rome and through parts of its history, it's really it's quite phenomenal because it's pretty much the story of the indigenous gods of the peoples of Rome. I didn't learn every single one of them. There's quite a lot. And then apparently after Rome conquered, when they merged with Greece, that opened up a lot and changed it a lot in terms of the Greek influence. But there's this concept of believing in the godlike nature of elements like fire, the sun, things like this, assigning the identity of a god onto these things. And but one thing that was really important in Roman religious culture is that you did ceremonies and sacrifices for your ancestors. That it was very ancestral, and that having a child was not just like, well, I want to raise a family or I need someone to help around the farm, but you needed children to run these ceremonies for you when you died. You see, pretty interesting. So, and then me coming from like an Asian Taoist background, there's lots and lots of, like, every family has you know, an altar in their home. And they have different Buddhist gods and Taoist gods on the altar and stuff like that. But ancestral worship is huge. It's normal. It's a very normal thing in, at least in Chinese culture. They have this stuff called ghost money, where they will burn ghost money, and it's a special type of paper with some printing on it, some kind of gold leaf on it, and it's said, or believed rather, to go to your ancestors who are in the other world. And they'll even do things like make paper mache cars and burn the cars and send them as gifts. And I think what they experience is a type of magic, like a protection, good fortune for their business and their family. And I wonder, like, why don't we do that? Like, even if you're Christian and you're like, whatever Christianity is your thing. Does that Is there anything in there that says you got to stop talking to your ancestors or respecting them? You know, you're not worshiping your ancestors per se, right? That you're not treating them like equal to Jesus or something. But where I'm going with this is that if we in the West had this practice still going on, I think it would change everything. It would be kind of like, it's very eugenic, if you know what that means. Like, it would help with population issues, because then it becomes essential for you to have children. And in Rome, it was even such that if you could not have children, then you adopted. You had to have somebody to do this for you. And so, like, even adults would get adopted, which is kind of weird to think, like, oh, I'm adopting this dude, my neighbor or somebody, and he's gonna run these ceremonies for me when I'm gone. It's pretty wild. This art is pretty wild. And we only have 3 people here, so I don't know why I'm feeling a little fatigued right now. I think it's just from a long, long day. So I think I'm gonna wrap it. Do you guys want to say anything before I go? Give me like a hello or a question or a toodaloo. Have a nice day. See you on the flip side.